What is going on, nerds of wrestling, and welcome to today's episode of What's Up Wrestler, a podcast by Nerds of Wrestling. I am your host, Justin Del Rio, and my guest at this very time is AJZ. AJZ, what is going on, bro? How are you today?
Not much, man. I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad to be here. How are you?
Doing good, man. Thank you so much for being able to do this today. I've been wanting to get you on the show for a while, but I was like, should I ask him? Should I not ask him? Kind of going back and forth. I'm like, you know what? Let me shoot my shot. And I shot a 3-pointer, dude. I'm so happy you're able to do this.
I appreciate it, man. I think it's more like half court. No,
Half court. No, full court. Full court.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Anytime, man. We're living through a crazy time right now. How have you been during this weird time? I feel like we're at the end stage, but not really. We can only hope.
I think it's one of those things where it's been a long 2 weeks, right? Because remember in the beginning, they're like, we're almost there. We're almost done. It's going to be 2 weeks. And it's been the longest 2 weeks of my life. It's been about 52 weeks, actually. But no, man, I've been doing all right. Just figuring out and trying to adjust to things as far as wrestling and, still getting out there and building a name. And honestly, this past year has been the best year professionally in my entire life. I mean, it just took a lot of adaptations, you know what I mean? Looking in the mirror and saying, okay, well, if the world's slowing down and other people aren't going out and trying to make opportunities for themselves, why don't I just try to do that? And opportunities have come to me this year based upon the fact that I was willing to go out and shoot for them and get them and, make stuff happen when a lot of the world started to close down.
It seems like you took the time to really, like you said, find yourself and take advantage of it. A lot of wrestlers were able to do that last year, and it's showing this year. And you're doing insane stuff for OVW for the people who know you. But really quick, before we go more into your career and AJZ, drop those plugs. Where can the nerds find you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for allowing me to put myself over because I was still going to do it anyway. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at AJZiggy1818, AJZIGGY1818. My Facebook like page is Team AJZ. My YouTube is Andreas Ziegler, ANDREAS ZIEGLER. And then for bookings or media or acting or any kind of things like that, you can reach me at, you can reach my email, which is official OFFICIALEHW@gmail.com. That's OFFICIALEHW@gmail.com. And you can probably tell that's not the first time I've put myself over, right?
Yeah, no, not the first time. Not to worry, nerds. Don't worry, he will be dropping his plugs near the end one more time. So how did AJZ become AJZ?
Well, I popped out of the womb with the name Andreas John Ziegler, so
there you go.
Tried to make it simpler and turn into 3 letters, right?
No, there you go.
I mean, when I was a kid, my first wrestling name was the Electric Elf because I was a historic backyard wrestler. I was a 3-time heavyweight champion in my backyard. I was pretty tight with the promoter, in my own backyard. So I was, a 3-time heavyweight champion. But after that, then I started training when I was 14 years old at local shows and carnivals, but I really couldn't get any real booking opportunities at that age because when you're 14 years old, you can't really get too many bookings. So what I did was I took a break from the wrestling and I went into bodybuilding. I became a national level bodybuilding champion, and then I came back to the wrestling in college.
Have you always been like a fan of wrestling? I love how you said you were you were over in your own backyard. I'm surprised,
the most over I've ever gotten.
a lot. I used to do backyard wrestling. I was never a wrestler, but the kid who the kid who wrestled his backyard. It took him 4 years to finally put himself over and win the title. So he always
he's much humbler than I.
He always let everybody have the title before, and I'm like, because I was the referee, and I was like, bro, have you ever won a title? He goes, no. I was like, what the hell? Like, what? Like, how come? He's like, well, one day I'll win it. And he finally won it like 4 years later, which is hilarious.
Fantastic. It's a slow climb, people like to get behind the journey.
Right. Who were your favorite wrestlers growing up? There's so much wrestling nowadays, but like back in the day, wrestling is nothing compared to what it is now.
Absolutely. Actually, I just did a podcast yesterday and I kind of came to the idea that the reason why I had favorite wrestlers was because they sold, and this is the key component for people who want to be wrestlers out there. And there's a reason why I wear my hair like this and I act the way I do and I present myself the way I do with a tablecloth looking shirt. It's because my favorite wrestlers as kids were people who you could describe, right? And that's something my trainer says to me. And then, you rewind and you go back and you listen to people who know what they're talking about, and they're all people who are describable. So that was just kind of a lesson to me, in hindsight, realizing that my favorite wrestlers as kids are people who are describable. So that's something I can take away and give to people who want to get into wrestling. Anyways, my favorite wrestlers were John Cena, Dolph Ziggler, and Kofi, and it's just because they're easily describable in characters, which is something I think is important for people who want to become a wrestler, and then also overall, just I thought they were entertaining, I guess, in a long-winded answer.
John Cena is one person a lot of people grew up liking. When did you start watching wrestling? Like, what year would you say you started?
I think my earliest memories with wrestling were probably like 2006. I would play like the SmackDown versus Raw game with my brother, and then on top of that, I started watching wrestling a little bit back then, but then I started consistently really watching it around 2009 when I was about 9 years old or so.
Wow. Oh my. Wow. Wait, how old are you?
I'm 21.
Oh my God, you're holy shit, dude. Oh my God, I thought you were like 25. Shit. Well, good for you, man. You're killing it there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying my best to be my best, and that's really all you can ever ask for out of anybody or yourself. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people, dude, when I was 16, man, I'd be going to restaurants and people would be like, hey, and I don't drink, but people would be like, hey, do you want to check out our wine list or something? I was like, the frick do you think I'm 16 years old. So I've always been like 4 years ahead of the curve. So I'm glad that's keeping up. But hopefully it does like an inverse thing within the next few years. Once I get to 29, he looks like he's 25, a young stud, good looking guy,
I work with kids, and the kids always tell me I look like I'm 40. Like, bro, I'm 26. Like, what?
I mean, you know what? That it can work depending on your age demographic on Tinder or whatever you're doing. You know what I mean?
Maybe. Like, sure.
He's mature.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. 2006 is such a great time for wrestling. That's when I first started watching wrestling, and like I said, John Cena was one person who a lot of people really hooked to because he was the face of the time. Like, he was the guy that everyone loved. He's Roman Reigns. He was Roman Reigns. You know what Roman Reigns is like 5 years ago. Dolph Ziggler is one of my favorite wrestlers. It's so unfortunate to see what they're doing with him. They're not pushing him at all. They're not giving him anything. Kofi, same thing. I love Kofi, and I hope he's champion again soon. With that being said, there's so much wrestling nowadays. Like I said before, are you keeping up with the current products? AEW, New Japan, ROH. What I know, what's the for and God, what the promotion is that called? Shit, that's off the top of my tongue. Just came back recently. NWA. Yeah. Have you been keeping up with any of those?
Oh man, I try to keep up with everything all the time, every week. I mean, I guess we're on the Nerds of Wrestling podcast, so I can admit that I'm a wrestling nerd. But yeah, I try to keep up with everything because I'm a mark, and I like to know. Like, my real answer is the fact that it's important to know what's going on, because if you don't get with the times will pass you by. And that's one of those things where it's like, you can love a lot of the old school wrestling and stuff like that and how they did it and why they did it. But at the end of the day, you can take those nuggets of ideas and then implement them into the new style of wrestling. But there's a lot of people who don't watch nowadays wrestling because there's just not fans of it. You know what I mean? But if you want to make a career out of something, you can't just dwell in the past and only watch stuff from the days that you liked. You have to understand what's going on now and then take your style or what you think, what you like, twist it, turn it, manipulate it, and put it into what they're doing today.
Well said, my friend. Shit, God, like, you know what? Honestly, he took the words right out of my mouth. I say that all the time.
Yeah. I mean, if you're just a fan, like, it's not a big deal. Like, you can just watch old stuff, whatever you like. I care less. But my mentality with it is, you can hark on the stuff all day long and say, you know what, I really don't like the product nowadays, and I'm not going to watch it because I like this style of wrestling. But to me, professional wrestling is art, or sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it. It's art, and there's not one way to draw a picture, or there's not one way to sing a song. There's not one way to, write a movie script. There's not one way to do any kind of art. And it just boggles my mind when some people think that professional wrestling can only be done one way, because no other art in the world is only done one way.
Right.
Because different people like different kinds of art, so you need to have different kinds of art on one show to draw, the most diverse audience.
I love that. Holy shit! Like, so very well said. Like, I love that. I'll be the first to admit. Yes, we were on the Nerds of Wrestling podcast. I've admitted it before a few times. I kind of been slacking on watching wrestling. I think I stopped watching like when COVID hit, because there was
Yeah,
it's hard to watch with no audience, and I'm sure it's hard to wrestle with no audience. It's hard as a fan just to watch Monday Night Raw for 3 hours with nobody there. Now they have virtual fans. I kind of watch back and forth, but I'm just waiting. I'm excited for WrestleMania. Yeah, it's not going to be 80,000 people. It's going to be some sort 25,000. Hey, I'll take it. I'm like, you know what? I'll take it. It's some sort of normalcy.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. I mean, it takes a toll on the viewers. People are always like, how does it affect you as a wrestler? Like, honestly, yeah, we know what we're doing, et cetera, et cetera. You don't really know what works, what doesn't, or, the timing on things when the crowd's not there. Because, when the boys are in the crowd, they know when to clap, et cetera. But I think that the fans have it the hardest. It takes a really loyal fan to just watch the entertainers. And, given people pay to see us, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, the fans are the ones that drive the show. Like, I'm pretty sure anyone could agree with me on this, that the after WrestleMania Raw every year, pre-COVID, obviously, was the best Raw of the year. Why? Because the crowd, like, they're just so into everything. And that makes our job a lot easier as performers. But also, on that same token, it makes it a lot easier for the fans at home to watch the show, right? At least for me, kind of as you alluded to, right?
100%, man. It sucks watching wrestling. We're home watching it on our TVs, and we don't know how the audience is, because they're in person. The people turn down the volume. They have all that technical shit where they edit the audio out and stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
But us, we could be like, oh my god, why is this crowd so boring? But we're not there in Philadelphia in the arena. Like, that could be the loudest place ever. So, we also got to think like, okay, yeah, we're not there. It doesn't sound like anything there, but it's crazy to think about. Tell us about your training. What was training like? What was it like to step foot into the ring for the first time to actually train? I know you said you did backyard, but now you're training?
Yeah. So when I was 14, or like when I picked it back up in college, or both, or
both, all the above.
Okay, yeah. So when I was 14, honestly, I was relatively self-trained. I bought like a UPW wrestling DVD to, like, from an actual wrestling school to teach you the moves. So I had a little bit of an idea. So when I first went to train, it was at a carnival in southeastern Wisconsin, and I knew a lot of the basics because I was relatively self-taught. So pretty fast from there, I was doing, basic matches and stuff like that on the local independents. So, I picked up pretty fast too, because I was watching it, studying it, learning it, and honestly practicing it the right way as a backyarder. And then I kind of fell out of that simply because I knew that I needed to age a little bit and get bigger to get real opportunities. You know what I mean? Because I was just like a stick. My legs looked like you know what I mean? But anyways, I picked back up to it in college, and it was just like picking up where you left off. You don't really forget how to shoot a basketball if you know how to shoot a basketball, right? So from there, it was just learning more about psychology and more advanced moves, and then learning how to develop a character and stuff like that. So I started training again at a place called Firestar Pro Wrestling in Greensboro, North Carolina, where Griff Garrison trained, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's a good buddy of mine. And then I moved to OVW to kind of put a little seasoning on it and work on live TV training, so I know how to work on TV.
OVW is obviously where you're very well known from. You mentioned John Cena was your favorite wrestler growing up. John Cena, for the just in case the nerds don't know, OVW is WWE's old developmental territory.
Yeah.
A lot of people came from there. John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista. Too many names to name off. Well, those are like the top three I can remember. John Cena was your favorite wrestler, and now you're wrestling for OVW, where John Cena used to wrestle for. What is that like? And like I said, you're like a big name in OVW right now.
It's actually funny because when I first came to OVW, I wore like the blue trunks, white
Oh
meat,
God.
baby face, you know, kind of jacked up, bodybuilder looking guy. Had my hair slicked back, like the John Cena prototype. So my debut, right? We're like all standing around the ring, and the heavyweight champion at the time calls me out, and he's like, "Hey, you John Cena lookalike." And then we had like a Kurt Angle John Cena moment where I took him to the limit, and then he rolled me up. You know, one of those kind of finishes. And yeah, like I couldn't even run away from it. And we were on like a house show, and people were chanting "Cena, Cena." So that's why I started to grow out the hair and do the Teletubby look, and you know, kind of change what I'm doing. You know.
That I love how you said the Teletubby look because you kind of do look like one right now. I'm not gonna lie. You know, for those who are listening, you can look at this. Check out this video on YouTube, Nerds of Wrestling. Oh, that is hilarious.
I just dug my own hole.
Dug your own hole. Dug your own hole.
Yeah, I'm a heel, so I guess it works. Now people can start yelling Teletubby at me or something.
I love it. I love that.
I'll own up to it as babyface. Be like, yeah, I'm a giant Teletubby and kick your butt. How about that?
There you go. Exactly. John Cena is a big, you know, he looks like a Fruity Pebbles and he'll kick everybody's ass
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Right now he's making money off being on the cover of Fruity Pebbles, or at least he was. So, dang it.
That's awesome. When did you really start taking off in OVW? When did you really start? Now, OVW, like I said, is the promotion you wrestle for a lot. What are other promotions that you were able to wrestle for?
I've been traveling and doing a lot of stuff, and venturing out just all over the indies. You know, I was in Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, Indiana, Wisconsin, Nevada, LA, you know, just a bunch of different places all over, just making a name for myself and doing stuff. But my roots were in OVW, and it's a good place to be. It taught me how to work TV, but it's also important to branch out and do more. Kind of like, because like Brian Pillman was with us for a little bit recently,
Right.
before he moved on to AEW, and he was doing a bunch of stuff all over. So I just pretty much go everywhere, you know.
Independent wrestling is really taking over the world, and you were able to really venture out, like you said. What are some places that you wrestle for that you really like and would love to go back to, or places that you haven't been to and you really want to wrestle for?
On the independents, I'm working on doing some stuff with AEW in Chicago. We're going to be doing something soon into the future. Moreover, there's just Northeast Wrestling on the East Coast. I haven't been there yet. We've been in talks, and we're going to do some stuff as well.
I love how you mentioned Northeast Wrestling. I love it. I'm from Connecticut, and I go to Northeast Wrestling all the time, bro. I hope to see you at Northeast Wrestling soon. I'm sure you saw the videos. Brian Pillman Jr. wrestled there a few times.
Yeah, with Enzo.
Yep, so many people wrestle. I was at that show, and you wrestled at Enzo event recently. Before we talk about that, but yeah, dude, I love to see you at Northeast Wrestling. It's a top promotion.
Yeah, dude. Well, when stuff gets running back up there and everything starts clicking, I'll be up there for sure.
Yeah, I'm like so surprised you mentioned Northeast Wrestling. A lot of people don't mention that. I'm like, how about Northeast Wrestling? You're forgetting NEW. Come on, what are you doing?
Yeah, no,
you wrestled. Sure. You wrestled Enzo. Were you ever a fan of Enzo in the WWE? And what was it like to wrestle him?
He's a character, he's a persona, and he has a certain intangible that a lot of guys don't have. But it doesn't go without saying that the guy has spent hours. He has a notebook about this big, thousands of pages of ideas, promos, and look ideas, all this stuff that he's put into his character to develop who he is now. So it doesn't go without saying that, you know, Enzo Amore wasn't created without time spent writing. He always says he's a writer. So working with Enzo taught me to focus a lot on writing, which I have been doing to develop a persona and stuff like that. But it also taught me more about the character and, you know, telling a story, not focusing on the moves, all the stuff people say. But Enzo is one of those guys that really will break it down for you. And he's a one-of-a-kind person in the ring, out of the ring, and he's just one of the best humans I've ever met in professional wrestling. And he's opened up a lot of doors for me, and I can't thank him enough for sure.
I love that. He's a cool dude. I met him a few times when he came up to Connecticut and New York for NEW. For OVW, you wrestled in a lot of matches. What are your top 5 favorite matches that you wrestled in of all time, and matches or people you will love to wrestle again?
Man, top 5. I would definitely have to say that my matches with Enzo, I did one in Tennessee and one in Georgia. Those are both some of my favorites. I liked working with working with a guy named TGA Moss. We had a little program here in OVW that was one of my most enjoyable runs that I've had while being here. And then just in general, just working here at OVW has been fun overall. But I've really enjoyed wrestling Hammerstone out in Vegas 2 months ago. I think it is now. Yeah, it's April. 2 months ago, I wrestled Hammerstone, Davari. So those are some guys that I was able to learn from and work with and have some good chemistry with. So that was very, very, very fun for me for sure.
Dude, like I said, it looks like you're really taking off, and this isn't even the start. Like I know you've been on fire for a long time, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck, man, in your future. When COVID is over, when everything is over, I know you want to travel, but what else can we see? AJZ, what are your goals?
My goals are just to eventually build a bigger name, get more exposure, and draw more money and make more money for professional wrestling and for myself, and to influence people around the world by doing what I love to do. Because at the end of the day, professional wrestling's cool, but it's not about creating something to float our own boat or uh, boost our own ego. It's about developing something that can change and influence and impact other people's lives all over the world. So that's really what I want to do, just on a larger scale, and make money while doing it, have fun while doing it, and see the world while doing it. You know what I mean?
Dude, I 100% guarantee we'll be seeing you on WWE or AEW in the near future. I wish you nothing but the best of luck, man. AJZ, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, it was fun. I really do appreciate you having me on the show, and hope to do it again. Genuinely appreciate it. Yeah.
Hell yeah, bro. I'll have you on again. Just like in the beginning, drop those plugs. Where can those nerds find you? Put yourself over one more time.
Yeah. That's my best thing. Other than my Instagram wrestling, we're not skip over that. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at AJZiggy1818, AJZIGGY1818. My Facebook like page is Team AJZ. My YouTube is Andreas Ziegler, ANDREASZIEGLER, and you can email me for bookings or inquiries or any kind of acting opportunities, etc. on my email, which is official OFFICIALEHW at gmail.com. That's OFFICIALEHW at gmail.com.
There you go, nerds. Definitely go check out AJZ on all those social media platforms. I can't name them all, but if you have to rewind the podcast, that's fine. Just go make sure you guys go check out AJZ. This has been
Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and YouTube. That's really all it is, man.
There you go. It's all there.
The main ones, you know.
The main ones, the main three, the main 2, 3. Yeah, this has been an episode of What's Up Wrestler, a podcast by Nerds of Wrestling. I'm your host, Justin Del Rio. Peace out, nerds.
Take it easy, guys. Thank you for having me. Let's do it again.